Have you ever met someone who refused to give up, even when history said that they should? Someone who turned pain into purpose and used their voice to change a nation. Today, in the final installment of our Juneteenth series, we're telling the story of Miss Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth. Her story stretches from her childhood home being burned by an angry white mob to standing beside the President of the United States as Juneteenth became a national holiday. This isn't just history, this is legacy. And if you're ever questioning whether one person can make a difference, then this video is for you. Now, before we dive in, go ahead and subscribe to Unlocking Black History. This channel exists for people like yourself, parents and grandparents, and those truth seekers committed to teaching the history that our textbooks left out. And if you want to go deeper with us, join our private Facebook group. You'll find the link in the description below. I am both honored and excited to share this final video in our Juneteenth series, and even more excited that it features none other than the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee. To be honest with you, I do not feel qualified to do this piece. But in today's time, it is of my opinion that we all need to shout her name to the mountaintops and continue to do so that this generation and the next never forgets who she is. You cannot talk about Juneteenth today without talking about Miss Opal Lee. Her story is remarkable, one of tragedy, resilience, purpose, and power. She is a living icon, a national treasure, and a pioneer in her own right. Miss Opal Lee was born in Marshall, Texas on October the 7th, 1926, the oldest of three children. Her paternal great-grandmother was born into slavery in Louisiana, and at the age of 10, Miss Opal Lee's family moved to Fort Worth, Texas, and later bought a home in the 7th Ward, Terrell Heights. In June of 1939, they moved into a house on East Annie Street, but what they did not know was the neighborhood was mostly white. Just 4 days after moving in, on June 19, 1939, a mob of approximately 500 white rioters surrounded their home. Miss Opal Lee was just 12 years old. She remembers it vividly. In an interview that I watched produced by Fox 4 News Dallas Fort Worth, she stated, "The mob did some despicable things," she said. "The police were there too. They did not intervene." And when her father showed up with a gun to protect his family, the police threatened him by saying, "If you bust one cap, we will let this angry mob have you." The house was vandalized and eventually burned to the ground. Her parents rushed her and her siblings to a friend's house. They fled in the middle of the night, and they never returned, nor did they ever speak of it again. That kind of trauma could have silenced her, but instead it became a seed of something bigger. Miss Opal Lee became a teacher, a counselor, a community leader, and eventually a force behind making Juneteenth a federally recognized holiday. She earned her bachelor's degree at Wiley College, taught elementary school for 15 years, then went on to earn her master's in counseling and guidance from North Texas State University. After retiring in 1976, she poured herself into community service. She co-founded the Tarrant County Black Historical and Genealogical Society, where she led bus tours showing city leaders the neglected areas of Fort Worth. And she organized Fort Worth's annual Juneteenth celebrations. But in the late 1990s, something changed. Miss Opal Lee was introduced to Dr. Ronald Myers, who was already pushing for Juneteenth to become a national holiday. She credits him with helping 42 states recognize Juneteenth at the state level. His influence lit a fire into her. Then in 2016, at the age of 89, Miss Opal Lee made a decision. She told her granddaughter that she was going to walk to Washington, D.C. Yes, walked 1,400 miles to ask President Obama to recognize Juneteenth as a national holiday. She planned to walk 10 miles a day, hoping the gesture would gain some attention. Her granddaughter laughed and said, "He will be out of office by the time that you get there." And her response, "Then I better start now." One company offered her an RV, then pulled out later saying that her mission was too political. Undeterred, she partnered with Juneteenth leaders across the country and walked in multiple states, rallying support along the way. She made it to Washington, D.C. on January the 10th. A press conference had been set up. President Obama had been invited, and they were going to walk from Frederick Douglass's house to the Capitol. But President Obama had a commitment in Chicago that day. Still, Miss Opal Lee later said with grace, "I didn't get quite what I wanted, but I didn't give up." In 2019, she launched a petition, and by 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, her mission caught fire. She had 80,000 signatures. Then came the help of Sean Diddy Combs, who used his platform and helped her to reach 1.5 million signatures. On June 17, 2021, President Joe Biden signed Juneteenth into law, a national holiday, a national reckoning, and a moment she had fought for her whole life to see. Miss Opal Lee said that she wanted to do a holy dance, but her kids told her that when she does her holy dance, it looked a little too much like twerking, so she held on. Her granddaughter then asked her, "Well, since we've made it, do we still have to walk?" Miss Opal Lee replied, "Yes, that will be my victory lap." And she meant it. The story doesn't stop there. The National Juneteenth Museum is currently being built on the very land where the original Fort Worth Museum once stood. She also began longing for the land where her childhood home was burned down. After she and others did some extensive research, they discovered that the land was now owned by Habitat of Humanity. Therefore, Miss Opal Lee asked Habitat of Humanity if she could purchase the land from them. They replied, "No." Then they said, "We will give it to you and help you build a house on it." Life had come full circle. Today, Miss Opal Lee reminds us that Juneteenth isn't just a Black holiday. It is a freedom holiday. It's about freedom to have financial literacy, freedom to have a sufficient education, the freedom to have access to quality of care, community, and empowerment. Her model is simple. If we can be taught to hate, then we can learn to love. And I believe that too, and that's why I created this channel, because I believe that each one teach one. Listen, we are living in a time where Black history is under attack from every direction. Just this past May 2025, the president signed an executive order banning all federal agencies from recognizing Juneteenth. It only stopped there because he has no authority to do so in the private sector. But no matter what orders they sign, we'll keep walking and we will keep teaching. This Juneteenth, my wife Mari and I participated in the Opal Lee's Walk for Freedom in Fort Worth, Texas, where we walked 2.5 miles, representing the 2.5 years it took for the news of the Emancipation Proclamation to reach the state of Texas. Now, if you're still watching this, I want to challenge you. Keep walking, keep teaching, and keep unlocking Black history.